All right, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 15th of March, 2024. Flyers Daily, as always, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Flyers begin the gauntlet of their schedule, the 7 games against very tough opponents. And we'll see the team they just lost to last night, 6-2. We'll see them again Tuesday at Wells Fargo Center. But before that, it's going to be the Boston Bruins, a team the Flyers lost to earlier this season, I believe, by a final score of 6-2 as well. The Leafs gave everything to the Flyers tonight, and the Flyers did not have enough answers in the first or third periods of the game. Leafs jump out to a 3-0 lead in the first. Flyers play a good second period, don't give up anything, and get one of their own, go into the third period down by 2 goals. But it's the Leafs who just open up on the Flyers, and they come away with a 6-2 win. Let's get to the particulars. Flyers actually outshot Toronto 28-27. I think the Flyers in the game against Tampa, the 7-0 loss, only got outshot by one shot in the game. I think it was 27-26. But in this game, they actually outshoot the Leafs again, 28-27. I thought Samsonov was pretty good in the game, although I thought the Flyers in the first period made it too easy on them. Too many clear-sighted shots with no traffic. They couldn't develop traffic to the net. There was a particular play in the first period where Travis Konecny had the puck slightly on the left side of the ice and was kind of holding on to it, waiting for traffic to develop. Ultimately, it didn't get home, and Konecny had to take the shot because he ran out of time, and it was just a clear-sighted save and whistle for Samsonov, and it was that kind of first period for the Flyers. But the Leafs did get on the board very early, and you see that just the passing that they executed on the first goal at 2:01 when Tyler Bertuzzi picked up his 13th goal of the season. It was just an unbelievable play by Nylander initially as he's kind of going up the left side wall from the goal line towards the blue line. And he goes into that area at the top of the circle that I talk about all the time, the decision zone, where if you curl at the top of that circle, it's kind of the decision between the winger staying below him or going to take away the point and the defenseman coming up. And he kind of dances Travis Konecny there, moves to the middle of the ice, and then sets a pass over for Austin Matthews, who just makes an unbelievable assist to Tyler Bertuzzi to tip that one home. And the Leafs are up early, 1-0 in the game. Then at 9:57, the Leafs get a fourth line goal. You go, okay, we're going to do everything we can to stop the big dogs, Nylander, Matthews, Tavares. Marner didn't play in the game, but they get a fourth line goal from Pontus Holmberg to make it 2-0. Kind of a broken play. There's just not much you can do about this. It was a poor pass initially from Morgan Rielly into Connor Dewar's feet, and then he kind of kicks it, and it hits off the leg of Morgan Frost and ends right up on Holmberg's stick, and he's able to beat Sam Ersson, who was a little deep in his net, and defaults down low on a turnaround shot kind of like that, and it ends up beating him, and now it's 2-0. Then the Leafs score another goal when Bertuzzi bats one out of the air like I've never seen before. It was an unbelievable play by Bertuzzi, but the Flyers video coaches spotted a reason to challenge, and they challenged that there was a hand pass prior to the goal. There was a big hit behind the net from Garnet Hathaway on Austin Matthews, and Matthews kind of prone on his stomach, kind of pushes the puck to a Toronto teammate. Bertuzzi ends up with the goal, but gets waved off. No goal. Flyers avoid giving up the goal and avoid putting the second-ranked power play of the Toronto Maple Leafs on the man advantage. But at 15:39, Timothy Liljegren is able to beat Sam Ersson. I'm not totally positive. I believe that he was slightly screened and it was a bit of a rolling puck, so it was dipping a little bit. But it's one that Sam Ersson's got to make the save on, especially in that spot where you dodge a third goal from Toronto. And a third goal is just such a big one. They say that the worst lead in hockey is 2 goals. One of the best leads in hockey is 3 goals. And that's one that he would want to have back. He did remain in goal for the remainder of the period. And I was wondering if they were going to make a decision and maybe go to Sandstrom in the second period. Ultimately, I didn't think they would. And the reason why was because he was pulled in that Tampa game just 2 games back. So I figured they would stick with him, let him battle through it. But they opted to pull Sam Emerson. Felix Sandstrom came in and started the second period and made several really good saves. Made a great glove save on Toronto Maple Leaf power play, tracks the puck through traffic and makes a good glove save, kills the play, and then made a scramble, couple of saves on Nylander in that period as well. And it seemed to give the Flyers a little bit of juice. They played a little bit more in the Toronto end, and eventually in the second period, they get on the board when at 1:42, Owen Tippett on the power play is able to pick up a kind of an errant shot where Morgan Frost missed the net, it hit off the end boards, came right out the Tippett, and he's able to put it by Samsonov, and that got the Flyers on the board. And they played a pretty good second period. Really kind of matched Toronto and didn't give their top dogs a whole lot of chances. And when Toronto did get chances, Felix Sandstrom made good saves. So it was a solid period. And you go into the third going, okay, can they make this a game against Toronto and get that next goal to get within one? But ultimately, it would be Toronto's period when at 4:45 of the third period, Austin Matthews goes in pretty much all alone on Felix Sandstrom and just beats him. I don't know a goalie in the world that's going to stop that shot from that guy with his confidence. It's his 55th goal of the season, which is an absurd number. And he beats Sandstrom low glove side, probably along the ice. And that puts Toronto up 4-1. Now, on the play, it starts in the Toronto zone as they break out, kind of where Matthews is down around the hash mark in his D zone on the left side of the ice if you're looking from Toronto's net forward. And he busts it up the ice. And as Pontus Holmberg is on the rush attempt coming down the right side of the ice, Cam York's there to defend the rush, but Travis Sanheim shades over with him and is too aggressive. And now you've got 2 D-men playing left D. And that leaves Matthews all alone to skate into a perfect pass and then get his head up and take that shot. And just a mistake from Travis Sanheim. I'm not sure why he moved to the left side of the ice. I'm not sure what he saw or why he went there, but that was redundant. That defense was redundant on that side of the ice, and it left a wide open Austin Matthews. And we know you cannot leave that guy that kind of space to be able to unleash that unbelievable shot. And it cost the Flyers. They go down 4-1. And then that goes at 4:45. And then at 4:53, right off the faceoff, the Leafs come attacking in the zone again. And the third forward high for the Leafs is William Nylander. And Bobby Brink doesn't recognize it quick enough and is now trailing the play and on the wrong side of the puck. And then Nylander gets one and just beats Felix Sandstrom as well. You're going to have those plays, those defensive laps with young players. But that's where the learning is defending and recognizing and reading plays and getting on the right side of it. But it cost the Flyers there. Now they're down 5-1. Then Matthew Nyes scores a goal at the 9-minute mark, and it's 6-1. Game's out of hand at that point. Eventually at 18:28, Tyson Forster gives the Flyers their 15th shorthanded goal of the season, his 17th, and the Flyers fall against the Leafs 6-2. Now, how do they stem the tide? We know what the schedule is coming up, this gauntlet of games, the 7 games in total, which began last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Saturday, it's going to be Boston, one of the top teams in the NHL. Boston is just right there again. Not as good as they were last year. They were record setters in the regular season last year, but they still got some really big-time weapons, including David Pastrnak, who has given the Flyers fits over his career. Boston right now is the third-ranked team in the NHL points percentage-wise at .684. Then the Flyers will get the Leafs again, like I mentioned, next Tuesday, and then it's going to be off to Carolina. Carolina, one of the top teams, second-place team in the Metropolitan Division, 8th best points percentage in the NHL. Then it's Boston again and David Pastrnak. And then it's Flyers, Florida, who's the top points percentage team. Flyers have beaten them twice, so a little double revenge on the mind of the Florida Panthers, and that game is in Philadelphia. And then you get the New York Rangers. who are the fourth-ranked team in the NHL. So how do they change their fortunes with the 6 games remaining of this gauntlet of a schedule? Now, as you all know, I am a realist. They are missing 2/3 of their D-core, 4 defensemen that they had playing just a couple of weeks ago or before Drysdale was hurt. They are missing Drysdale, Ristolainen, and Nick Seeler. And they are playing Eric Johnson with Igor Zamola, and they're playing Ronnie Attard with Stahl. And top pair is still Sanheim and York. So how do you overcome that? Well, defending is first and foremost. It's not just the defenseman's job. It's got to be a 5-man unit job. So they've got to get better at that. The structure in the Tampa game and the structure in the Toronto game was what was alarming, which is where the breakdowns are. And that structure has to reemerge immediately, if not sooner. It has to. No matter who your goaltender is, if you don't have good structure, they're going to get eaten up by these really good teams that are playing well. That's first and foremost. Can they do that? It's maybe, for lack of a better term, easier said than done when you have so many kind of new faces on your blue line right now. And look, Eric Johnson just got here. It was his 3rd game last night. Yegor Zamula played over 21 minutes in that game. Is that a recipe for success? But what are your other options? They don't have a lot of options right now. The injury bug was something they didn't really deal with a whole heck of a lot this year. Some maintenance things and little things here and there. But the injury bug of late has caught up to them. And I know what everybody goes, well, guy's injured, next man up. That's cute. That's fun to say. But the next man up is not the guy who was ahead of him on the depth chart. So next man up is not that simple. And next man up maybe works for a game, maybe a couple of games, but it's not a sustainable solution in most cases, especially on a blue line. That's a difficult situation. How do they overcome it? It's going to have to be the 5-man unit. It's going to have to be the structure and predictability, and also just not enough chances off the rush. They're missing some of the key elements back there that were so quick to get the Flyers going the other way in transition, which now has them defending more, getting out of the zone less frequently, creating offense off the rush and scoring off the rush, and also just that inability to make that first pass like a guy like Sean Walker. Cam York has that ability. Jamie Drysdale has that ability, but two of those guys aren't in the lineup. Walker's gone and Drysdale's hurt. So there's nothing you can do about it. You have to try and overcome injuries, and they're going to have to really button it down defensively and defend better as a 5-man unit. As far as the goaltending goes, I think there's a dilemma now. Sam Erson's been really good all year. He's had some off games, and it seems like when Sam has a bad game, it's a pretty bad game. And I think that's normal. I do. I think that's normal with all young players in the NHL. A lot of times when players start, they have high ceilings, the good ones, and low basements. Somehow they have to close that gap so that even when they're not at their best, they still the basement is not catastrophic. And you got to close it so that even if, hey, I'm having an off night, it happens. But my team can still battle in the game, and I can battle through it. That's kind of one of the things that he's got to figure out. But you run into this situation. I felt bad for Felix Sandstrom because I thought he came in the second period in a tough situation, down 3-0, and I thought he battled and played really well. And looking at the 3 goals that he gave up, I can't fault him for any of them. And they weren't on him. They were just extravagant breakdowns defensively. And when you let a guy like Austin Matthews shoot from there and Nylander shoot from there, that's what's going to happen to 99% of the teams that face them if they give up those opportunities. So What do you do on Saturday? We came into this situation going, okay, Ersson can't play every game. They need a capable backup. And they obviously didn't grab anybody at the deadline, and they kept Sandstrom. But now you're in a situation where you go, okay, do I start Ersson on Saturday? Now, I think part of the reason that he was pulled, and Brian Smith brought this up on the radio broadcast in between the first and second period, was, or between the second and third, part of it may have been, okay, he's not on it completely tonight. We can maybe change the complexion of this game by making a goalie change, and we can also get him some rest. He'll won't play 40 minutes that he was supposed to play. That could be the mindset. Do they go back to Ersson, though, on Saturday? I think they will, but I don't think it's an easy decision. I really don't, because he was pulled in 2 of his last 3 games. He was pulled 10 minutes into the Tampa game, 10-19 if I recall, after he gave up the 4th goal, and then he was pulled after a period here. Now, I worry about a guy's confidence when he's been pulled in 2 of the last 3. Didn't get into the second period in 2 of those games. So I do worry about that and worry about how he's going to handle it. This is going to be, this, like I said the other day on the pod, being that cool and having confidence and being able to have that goalie amnesia and put things in the rearview mirror is easier in October, November, and December. When you get to this time of year and you're battling for a playoff spot, there's clearly a ton more pressure. And there's obviously a ton of pressure on a goaltender. He's never gone through this. I don't think it's a situation where he played more hockey last year. I don't think it's anything to do with fatigue. I don't buy into that even a little bit. I buy into that maybe he's not playing his best hockey right now, and this is different than any animal he's ever taken on before. So where do you go on Saturday? I wouldn't be surprised if they went to Ersson or to Sandstrom. I think they'll go to Ersson, but maybe it's not a slam dunk like we thought. And these are some of the challenges for young goaltenders. We saw Carter Hart go through it. We've seen a lot of young goaltenders go through this. When the pressure ratchets up like this, it is very difficult on goaltenders. And when you're facing teams and scorers like Austin Matthews and a high-flying offensive team like the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Boston Bruins or the Florida Panthers or the New York Rangers or Carolina, it's going to be tough. You got to battle through it. And eventually, when it's all said and done, you learn from it. But this is, in a playoff push, not the time to learn. Now, the good news is this, is that the Flyers, they didn't get the 2 points last night, but the team that is chasing them in the division, the real threat, is the New York Islanders. They didn't win either. They went down, they lost a second straight game. They lose 4-0 against the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo. So, when you look at the standings, they're the same as they were before yesterday. But we're no fools. We watched the game. We can't pretend the game last night didn't happen. We can't pretend that Toronto didn't hang a 6th spot on them. We saw that with our eyes, and we saw the breakdowns. And we saw a team, kind of have their way for 2 of the 3 periods in the game. And we're no fools. We see the teams on the schedule coming up. And they have that same ability. Some of those teams better. Boston's a better team. New York Rangers are a better team. I think Carolina is a better team than Toronto overall. Maybe not as offensive, and obviously Florida is. But all said and done, Flyers don't lose any ground. So they got to weather this as best they can until they get Nick Seeler back or Drysdale back or Ristolainen back and hang on for dear life at this point. They're sitting there through 67 games, 76 points. The Islanders, still 2 games in hand, 72 points. But next opportunity will be on Saturday in Boston on St. Patrick's Day weekend. It'll be a mess up there. It'll be crazy. That'll be their next chance to grab a couple of points and draw even in games 1 and 2 of the 7-game gauntlet that the Flyers are in the middle of right now. Tough loss against Toronto, but can't worry. They can't worry about it. We can worry about it. They can't worry about it. They got to focus on Boston and get ready for that game. And also be the return of John Tortorella behind the bench for the Flyers coming up on Saturday in Boston, Saturday night, 7 o'clock. So, all right, we'll wrap things up there. We'll get after it tomorrow. We'll preview Flyers, Bruins, and much more coming up tomorrow on a brand new episode of Flyers Daily.